And welcome everybody. Let's look down my hair and don't look like a crazy person. Anyway, welcome to Rick Snider's Washington on YouTube, where you get the whole story. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, and hit the thanks button as everybody jumps in using a new computer. See if this thing looks any better. I won't look any better, but look what happened already. All right, already knocked my bell over. Okay, so let everybody come in. Hey, Steve, thanks for coming. And we got a few of these shows left before we take a break, I think. And of course, I'll let a few people join in the room and then we'll start talking about stuff. But I'm just working on who's around. Okay. Steve, you're around. Does this look any better? It's a new computer with, it looks to me like it's more clear than past. Well, I got myself a new Mac, burned some tax money at the end of the year kind of stuff. So first time I've managed to use it on the live chats, but God, it looks a lot more clear. All right. Yeah, all right. Got a few people jumped in already. All right, so we can talk about whatever, I guess. All right, so I know the big questions today. What are the Commanders doing on a coaching search? Okay, we're finally getting near the end of it. My guess is it'll leak out Wednesday who they picked. They'll probably make it official on Thursday and maybe a presser on Friday. Could be a presser next week. We'll see. They're down to interviewing 5 people. They actually talked to the Baltimore guys today. I think it's such a weird thing. You tell a coordinator, hey, I want both you coordinators come. Your buddies, you're on the same team. We're going to interview both of you for the job today. Do they high five as they pass in the hallway? I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird. But Mike McDonald was on there today. Anthony Weaver. And then, of course, they're going to interview Dan Quinn, I believe, either tonight or tomorrow. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, both Detroit guys, are going to be interviewed tomorrow in Detroit. They're going to fly up there. Those guys just coming back from San Francisco on that loss. And that's the 5 I know of. And is there a mystery guy there? Could be. You never know. I mean, they also interviewed Eric Bieniemy. Could they get through this whole thing and say, let's just stay with EB? I guess. But I don't expect that. To me, let me put down my screen here. Sorry. Oh, thanks, Steve. I got more pixels now, whatever that means. So to me, the only clue we really have about this is when the new GM, Peters, came in and said, I want a leader of men. So I spent a lot of time looking at these 5 candidates and trying to figure out what they're like. And to me, I don't think there's a given that Johnson is it. I think they're really going to go through the 5 guys. I mean, otherwise, why bother, frankly? And you want to get the feel of what the guy is like. I mean, listen, everybody's got a great resume on here. So it's not like it's, 4 fools and 1 good guy, and it's a straw poll. These are 5 legit people that could become head coaches. Excuse me, including Aaron Glenn. I'm sorry, not Aaron Glenn. Dan Quinn, who was a head coach. But here's my problem with Dan Quinn. That's not a beer. It's a soda. My problem with Quinn, he was 46-44 and lost the Super Bowl at Atlanta. Who does that sound like? And I just think you guys who are the fan base, and I think you have a little influence in this matter, you don't want him. I mean, you want a young guy. And guys like McDaniel, 36, things like, that kind of stuff. You want a young guy, and there's a lot of good young coordinators here. And it's okay to go with a guy in his mid-30s. But they want a leader. Somebody's got to win the room. That's how this is going to get decided. One of these coaches has got to go in there and just kick everybody's butt and blow everybody away. And you go, there's the guy we're going to walk behind every day. There's the guy that's going to lead them out on the field every day. There's the guy that's going to take Washingtonians that have kind of, been on the fence about all this stuff. They're going to go, ooh, I kind of like this guy. Let's go. There's the guy that you need. Now, let me just say this. Head coaches are not always good leaders. They've been good coordinators. It's a totally different skill set. And I was thinking about, I think this is going to be the 12th Redskins Commanders coach I've covered. And if I went back and looked at them, the only clear leader in the last 30 years that really everybody stood behind and said, let's go, was Gibbs in his first and second eras. Gibbs, after Sean Taylor's death, was a masterclass in leadership for everyone. I still remember that very well. So, you go through the others. Norv Turner, which could be like a good comparison to some of these guys. And Gruden was, I guess you'd say too. Good coordinators, the hot guy everybody talked about, were not head coaches. They just weren't. They didn't get people to rally behind them. I think Norv, after about 5 years, did become a decent head coach as far as that aspect goes, but was not ready at day one at all for that kind of thing. It's a totally different skill set. You had guys like Spurrier and Zorn. The locker room just laughed at him. Shanahan could have been, but he was such a narcissist that everybody drifted from him. They just couldn't handle him. That kind of thing. Ron was a nice guy. I did it, but he really wasn't the leader on this team that you would hope to get here. All right. So I know, Clayton, you're saying, don't forget Marty. Okay. Now, Marty was an interesting dude because definitely the best coach they've had in the Snider era, and that includes Gibbs. He turned it around. He did a really good job with the locker room, but leadership was the one thing I remember most was after 9/11. We're out at Redskins Park, which is not far from Dulles Airport, where one of the terrorist flights took off. And the weirdest part, we were outside. And normally at Redskins Park, Commanders Park, there's planes flying over all the time, the runway. It's not oppressively loud, but you do notice them around. And after 9/11, it was stone silent out there. And, people asked Marty about, 9/11 and what the team was trying to do. And the NFL was trying to figure out, what they were doing. And he had zero leadership in that situation. I was quite disappointed in him because there was a time to be a statesman as well as a coach. Marty didn't have it in him at all. That was really a weird deal on there. So it's not easy to find this. Hey, James, glad you could come. So, but I've met some guys, and when you talk about winning the room for a head coach, let me give you a few examples. Russ Grimm was going to be the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. They pretty much, it was done, but they had another interview still to do with Tomlin. And Tomlin won the room and won the job. And, listen, 17 years later, he's never had a losing year. I mean, I'd be okay if the Tomlin came in here. He's a leader of men. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for Tomlin, that kind of thing. Trying to think, but I always laugh. Buddy Ryan, when he got to be the head coach in Arizona, first thing he did was tell everybody, "You got a winner in town. Follow me." And it didn't quite work out, But Buddy wasn't afraid to stand there and go, "I'm the boss. Let's go." That's what you're looking for. I've seen it a lot of times. So I don't know these people that well personally. I've watched a lot of video on them, and I know people around them. But I don't know which one of them is going to come into this room and say, "I'm the guy you're looking for." I tell you, the biggest mistake I just saw in this offseason was Jerry Jones not firing McCarthy and hiring Belichick. Because I would tell Jerry Jones, Jerry, you ain't looking that good. You're in your 80s now. So I have one question for you. Do you want to win a Super Bowl one more time? It's been almost 30 years. You want to win one more? I got a guy for you. Belichick. Come in here, grab this roster quick. You may not like them. You may not love what goes on, but do you want to hold that Lombardi trophy again? And I obviously no was the answer on that. I wouldn't take Belichick here. I think it's a totally different situation. And you don't see anybody else grabbing me either. Harbaugh, I would have said, listen, hire Harbaugh. And I know it's going to be chaos. I know it's going to be crazy. But I've seen 30 years of chaos and crazy and losing. I'll try the winning one. Let's see how that works. I think it'll feel better. Harbaugh's know how to win. He was in San Francisco. So there's a rare college coach that could jump up, get out of town before, the sheriff's deputies show up, just like Pete Carroll did. Got out of USC and went to Seattle, did very well. Not every college coach can do that either on there. So Joel remembers the Buddy Ryan body bag game. I'll give you a Buddy Ryan story real quick. Buddy's retired. He's owned some racehorses in Louisville, Kentucky, and he's working down there doing that. So I go down to see him. And I went to his barn, and we agreed to meet at 7 a.m., which my photographer thought we were crazy, but we did. And Buddy says, hey, I got a couple things to do first. We're going to geld a horse first. So come on over. And now I've covered horse racing a lot of years. I've been around it. It's brutal, but whatever. So we geld the horse and I'm there. And then he says, hey, can you walk this hot for a few minutes, which means walk the horse around the barn, let him cool off after working. Okay. So I walked the hot. I'm used to horses and working with them as a kid. So I did a lot as a teenager. So I did that. And then Buddy asked me, we do something else? And I'm like, I've been here a couple of hours. My photographer's like, we're doing this. I'm like, Buddy, can we do and I sat in the tack room and we talked about a lot of things. And it had been years since he got in a fight with Kevin McBride on the sideline, if you remember that. And I said, hey, Kevin McBride says he can kick your butt. And Buddy was like, I'll take him on now. And now that's the combative attitude that Buddy Ryan had. He was ready to go to war. Greg Williams was one of his disciples. Greg Williams goes to war. That's what you're looking for in this next coaching search. Who can you do it? Now, McDonald, one thing about McDonald, and I saw he even admits he's more of an introvert. Smart guy. McDonald gives you that icy stare like, where can I plunge the knife? I mean, that dude, I like him a lot. Now, but if they're looking for a leader, not a tactician, that may not be the guy they want. Ben Johnson seems a little mild-mannered for me for this kind of role. I think he's a smart coordinator, but can he jump up like this? That's going to be an interesting thing too. So I think they basically have two old coaches, kind of old coaches, three young ones. I think they're going to go ahead and go through the process, and then Wednesday decide who can they go. Whose call is this? Oh, I think it's Josh Harris's call on the very end of the day. I mean, hopefully he doesn't have one guy and Adam Peters has another guy, and now we got a problem. And I think Harris would probably get Peters the rope here to hang himself and say, okay, you really want this guy, go get this guy. But that's how it's going to go. And I think Wednesday they'll start the contract talks. Who knows? You may offer a guy a job, and Seattle's trying to get him too. And suddenly, I don't know what Josh Harris is like spending money. Dan Snider would never let somebody outbid him for whatever he wanted, right or wrong. But I don't know what Josh Harris is going to do, and I don't know what his funds are after spending all the money for this team. Can he get in that kind of a battle on it? So I think it's critical for Josh Harris to get this right, because fans like you are out there going, okay, I'm going to be optimistic. Let's see what you do. And you're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And if it sucks and, then you're going to crush them. And the dude can't afford to have empty seats like this, not with spending $6 billion. So this is a critical hire. But I was saying that you can do all the right things and the team can still suck and you can get bad luck. And there's a lot goes into all this. But I'll be optimistic. We'll give whoever he hires a chance. I think you have to give him a chance up to the first preseason loss. I mean, sometimes I think you guys are so eager to hire a coach so you can get ready to fire him and go to the next one. That kind of thing. Which, by the way, I did see some odds today on the Super Bowl next year. And Washington was ranked next to last. And they were 100-1. Frankly, winning a Super Bowl next year should be 1,000,000-1. But Vegas doesn't pay off extra money. So their favorite, Kansas City. Imagine that. Let's see. Mike said Harbaugh was handed the 49ers team after Singletary got there. Yeah, but you know what? Why didn't Singletary stay? Because he couldn't make it work with them. That's sort of like Ralph Friedgen at Maryland. I covered that team. Ralph Friedgen comes to Maryland, wins 10 or 11 games his first 3 years with the last recruiting class of the guy. But he couldn't win with them. But Ralph did. So who gets the credit? Well, I think Ralph does in the end. I mean, the other guys set him up, but Ralph still had to win because that guy couldn't do it. So I would, take Harbaugh, as credit for that too. Sam, with the Sixers, Harris mainly went with the veteran head coaches. Yeah, from what I saw, I'm not a big 76ers expert. I've seen that stuff. Gregory, have Washington Commanders done enough for the Rooney rules? Well, through tomorrow. EB doesn't count because EB was a coach in-house, and the league figured this out years ago, that if guys wanted to just kind of fake interviews, they would just do it with their own staffers that they had no intention of. But the guys were already in the building, and they could do it. And I knew a lot of black coaches in the early years of the Rooney Rule were really upset with it because they felt like they were being used. But then others told me, they said, listen, at least I get in the room and who knows, like Tomlin did. Who knows? Maybe I can pull it off. At least gives me exposure. I'll take it. And so, um, that's why everybody was kind of like, I'm gonna move my camera around. That's why everybody was okay with still doing it. But EB doesn't qualify. Now, if you get a defensive coordinator in here, I was on a radio show today. They're like, well, if this new coach comes in, then we should pick, should take this guy for offensive coordinator and Peters can pick him out. I said, this isn't a la carte. You're not going to McDonald's and hitting that big board of dollar menu. The new coach gets to pick his coordinators. If you don't come here. I would tell that coach, don't come here. You have to be free to make your own mistakes if that's what happens. And they're like, well, they only hire their old buddies. Whatever. You cannot handcuff the guy like that. You have to say. So for EB to stay, hey, if the new guy wants him, they haven't cut EB loose, you notice. All the assistant coaches are still in their contract. Because it kind of sucks for them because it makes them not always be able to go get other jobs. But this is going to be over in a couple of days, and there'll be some opportunities. I admit that. And if they get fired and can't find another job for a year, they're still getting paid here. The checks will still come. But I don't know where EB will go. I don't get down to the coordinator level as much. We got too much to do without that. I spent hours today just watching video of these prospects. Will they mandate? You have to interview women for head coaches, Mike asked. The Rooney Rule is people of color or women. So if you think there's a woman candidate out there you want to bring in, you can, and it will count on the Rooney Rule. I don't know who that would be, but there are some women assistant coaches now in the league. So one day that will happen. I don't know what day it is, but I'd say one day it could happen. And tell you what, if there's a woman out there that can get this team to win 12 games and a title, bring her. I'll take anybody on this, but there'll be a day somewhere down the road that a woman will. Joel, Ralph and Terry Holland, Lefty and Gary Williams, all-time best coaches in college basketball. Well, Lefty was great. Gary was better. Lefty was a great recruiter more than he was a game coach. Gary was a better game coach. You merge them, you got John Wooden on there. But, and if you're talking about Ralph Sampson, I guess, it was a great time too. I loved ACC basketball. Grew up watching all those guys. TB trading 2 for 3 for 4 for 5 for 6 gets this result. Well, okay. All right, you made my head hurt on that, but okay, I'll go with you, TB, if that's what I'm sure you've spent the time figuring this out. Gregory, if it's McDonald, do you expect he brings a few people from Baltimore? Probably bring some. I saw Baltimore's assistant GM guys is going out for Harbaugh in LA. So, man, the Ravens that's part of it. You're victims of your own success. But good organizations know how to keep replenishing. What's the name of the place I did for the fried chicken, Alexander? It's called Chaptico Market, Chaptico, in Chaptico, Maryland, which is kind of near Leonardtown, Maryland, about an hour southeast of D.C. Good place. I mean, it's a know-nothing on the side of the road kind of looking place, general store looking kind of place, which is common, in small places. But it was good. 104,000 people watched me eat that piece of chicken. I did it the other day. We did eclairs, the biggest eclair around. I had someone else eat them because I can't eat eclairs. And I think like 6,000 of you watched that one. I don't know what the chicken thing was. Let's see. Have any thoughts on Drake May or Jaden at 2, Nick? I'm coming around. Well, was he with the new coach? What's the new coach about? But if they want to trade the 2 down a little bit and get some other stuff, I'm okay because I don't have a quarterback in this draft that I'm like, no, you got to take this guy. It ain't Caleb. I don't know. I mean, the other guys could be decent. You never know. It's a crapshoot. But maybe you leverage that pick. Now, remember one thing. Between now and the draft is called lying season. The NFL doesn't consider lying a sin. I'll have to talk to Jesus about that later, I guess. But they, what the Commanders will do is, I'll leak it out, man. We love the hell out of Jaden Daniels. Oh, my God, Jaden Daniels so bad. Ooh, Commanders are looking at Jaden Daniels. But other people want him, and they'll go, yeah, we really like him, but what's your offer? You try and pump up the market. for this. Get extra pick. Go for it. So that's all going to be coming up. The NFL Combine's coming up 4 weeks, I guess. It's coming up. So that's, and then here we go again. I mean, the Senior Bowl's, the Sunday, I think. So everybody's already talking about that. Penix, I think, is supposed to play. I want to see what he does. And if you can get Penix way down in the first or something, and you want to make some moves, trade down a little bit, get that offensive tackle, whatever, go for it, man. That's what you want to do. Certified Yams, thank you for coming. And see, Joel likes John Thompson. John Thompson was a hard man to cover. I covered a few of his Georgetown years. He was not an easy person to deal with. But he was a great coach, no doubt of that. TB, can anybody do progressive trade downs on the NFL Mock Draft Simulator? Okay. Too much math for me. Sorry. Jerry, would you ever consider trading out of the second pick? So I just said I would, absolutely, if the offer's good. Marvin Harrison would really intrigue me to want to keep that pick too. But if I could trade down to 7 or something, get myself a really good offensive tackle and a couple other picks, I'd definitely think about it. Steve, don't forget where Lefty started coaching. Madison? Was it James Madison he was at? He came to Maryland, then he coached a couple other places, including Georgia State. Lefty loved the game. Sam, let's see. Train back isn't that bad if you have a dance partner. True. That's why you got to pump it up to make them think it's worth it. Let's see. Certified with the Wizards, Nats, and Commanders all rebuilding. DC sports is going to be tough to watch. Yeah. I think Leones should be on a hot seat. The Wiz are 7 or 8 now. I think they won a game. They beat Detroit, who's 4 wins. God, it's unbelievable how bad this is. Leones should sell it. Now that Dan Snider's gone, people can start paying attention to Leones and the Lerner family, which owns the Nats. The Nats been crashed and burned. And guess who wants to buy them right now? Leones, because he likes gambling product. Quinn, Gregory would be disappointed if it was Quinn. I know the reason. We talked about it already. 24 minutes in the show already. And Kyle, thank you so much for kicking in. If you can hit that $ below me, some of you can see it on the screen. Below me, it's thanks button. Helps contribute to the cause, man. I do this for an hour every Monday to help you guys out. Next week, we're going to talk about my book more, but my new book is at the printer. President, it's bigger than this. This is just a printout, but 119 pages it came out, and I do profiles on every president, and they're short, down, dirty kind of things. It's not a PhD dissertation. It's a Cliff Notes version of drinking, basically, but some recipes, some other things. It's going to be called this. It's going to be on Amazon, but we're a little, I think we're days away from, a week away from Amazon, that kind of thing. And next week I'll have my website up and you can order direct and I'll sign it. It's only going to be $15, postage and taxes included on there. So we do that. But if you can get the thing like Kyle did, any restaurant recommendations of Calric? Well, man, now I'm going to have a brain freeze. Everybody likes Jerry's and the seafood over in Prince Frederick. That's a good one. Oh gosh, there's another restaurant in Prince Frederick, seafood place. It's really good. But then you go down to Solomon's and pretty much everything down at Solomon's Island is good. I've eaten in several of them. They're all good. So if you really want a meal, go down to Solomon's by the water. And that's a great place to eat and take a date or your wife. Ooh, Joe, I got it right, huh? James Madison. I thought that's where Lefty was. Lefty couldn't come up the other day to the Maryland game for being honored. He's in his 90s now. But, you talk to him on the phone. It's been a little while since I have, probably a year. Lefty's still a good old boy to, and his mind's there. So I always liked Lefty, a lot like my father. They looked alike. They're both from Carolina, about the same ages. I always thought that. Thought Lefty got a bad deal at Maryland. Betty Russell's. I don't know that one. Ty, who do you want, offense or defense? I want a guy that's going to win some games. I don't care if he's a special teams coach somewhere. If you got a special teams coach that can come here and win games, which doesn't happen often, but it does happen, I'm all for it. I don't care. I don't really. I have no dog in the fight that I'm like, man, they gotta go Ben Johnson. I'm gonna die. I don't care. I don't care. Bring in a guy here that can win. I'm getting old. I'm not sticking around too many more years covering this thing. My wife retired from the federal government the other day, 43 years. And she's kind of like, yeah, we can go goof off and do stuff. I'm like, well, I'm supposed to be working, but yeah, I'm getting a little more willing to go. Was it difficult getting books published? Now, if you go through Amazon, if you have a book and you want to get it published, you can do it through Amazon. They do the printing, they do all that stuff. It's an easy thing to do. Just go on Amazon and type it in, and they'll show you how to do it. Let's see, TV. So I don't know who We Hail You YouTube is, but they posted an announcement. Sam saying it's not so bad. Sam isn't so bad. He's okay. He's not going to be a great quarterback, but he could be an okay quarterback, and maybe you can win with an okay quarterback. Some teams have. Gregory said Rivera might be looked in Dallas. Well, I hadn't heard that one. I know he was out in L.A. Interviewing for a job. I haven't heard Dallas yet. And no, he can go where he wants. It's not like he's got the, all the key codes here anymore. I'm sure they've changed the numbers. Frank, how good a fit do you think Ben Johnson would be with the current offensive players? I think you're going to do a revamp on the roster anyway. So you're really asking, can he work with Sam Howell and Terry McLaurin? But what's he going to do with the tight end room? I think you're going to change that. You got to work on that offensive line. I think you can keep your running backs for now. So I think he can, I think he can work with them. I think they'll do a lot of changes in 3 years. Totally different roster. Tim, chances of stadium back in DC, pretty good. I mean, they're working behind the scenes on things. So I'm still thinking RFK is the front runner in that. But from what I've been told, we're probably not going to see a deal in place for maybe a year, and then you got to build it. So it's maybe 2030. It might be then before the team moves over. And then it's going to cost you a fortune, and you're going to regret losing a FedEx field because you can get in FedEx pretty cheap most days. But the new place is going to be big. Lefty Rizzo went to Duke. I don't remember that one. J-Dubs, why is trading down the draft not talked about as much? Well, the guys are just getting here, so that'll come. Everything will be out there. The rumor mill will work overtime. I won't have enough lips to keep chattering about all this monkey stuff. What do you think about the rumor we might re-sign Chase? James, I have not heard that. And I don't think Chase has shown very much. Did make a couple tackles yesterday. One ran right into him, and the other one he made a decent move, shedding the runner and got the guy right by him. But Chase, to me, he doesn't want to play football enough. I see him out there. There was one touchdown run they ran right by him. He just kind of reached out for the guy. He didn't make a big effort on that. I don't think Chase is going to want a lot more money than he deserves. I don't see him coming back here. 70 Chip. If we get Ben Johnson, I think he would bring Hank Fraley with him. Okay. You guys sometimes know more about coaches than I do. 70 Chip. If we get, Tony. Oh, thanks, Tony, for everything. Let Mama take you on a vacation. Yeah, we're thinking about going to Vegas. I haven't been to Vegas in about 15 years. Used to go all the time. We're going to go see the Sphere. I want to see the Sphere on that. And then we'll see what else. We're kind of got her to retirement, 43 years, and then it was a big thing. And now we can take a breath and go, now what do you want to do? And, of course, it's cold as all here. So, it's not freezing anymore, but worst of winter's over. But, yeah, we're getting out of here in a short time. And you'll wonder, why is Rick doing videos lately? Where are they? Well, Rick's out goofing off. I've hardly missed a day in 3+ years of doing videos. You can count on one hand how many days I didn't do one. But I think you're going to be able to count a few coming up. We'll see. TV, what do you think of Brock Bowers? Is he worth the 6 to 8? No. No, but he's a nice player. Fry Fighter, thank you so much for chipping in. I do appreciate it. Joel, Kellen Moore went to Philadelphia offensive coordinator. He was a Dallas. All right, whatever. Those things I don't care. Robert, Adam Pierce, what's my take? I think it's been too early to tell you anything about him. I haven't noticed any changes about things on that. They're consumed pretty much with worrying about this next coach and starting the scouting up and all that. He's got a million things to do, but we haven't seen too much of it publicly yet. Isn't there a lot of land near FedEx that could be used for a new stadium? Says Greg. Yes, there is. They could build a new stadium kind of in the parking lots and then knock down FedEx for parking, afterwards. That is a possibility. The state of Maryland wants to give them a lot of money to try and help make that happen. So it's plan B, but it is a plan. Nick, Chase plays with no effort. Yeah, I've noticed that for 2 years now. He could grab a ring there, but I don't even think he resigns with San Francisco. James, I've been to Las Vegas. I haven't been since 2013. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's changed a little. I like Vegas to see Vegas. My wife was born in Vegas. But I like to see in the surrounding area too, the Red Rocks and Hoover area and all. I like the whole thing, but I don't sit all day in the Strip sitting there betting and drinking. I'm a little old for that now. Luke, I am your father. Ooh, like that one. Commanders haven't been to the NFC Championship since 91. Yep, I covered it. Make it make sense. Well, we got that 91 team got old real quick. They didn't do very well with free agency in the 90s. And then Dan Snider came along and just thought he could buy everything, and it all went to hell. So that's pretty much what happened. And then we went about 20 years on the same wheel, Oh, William, you want to know that seafood restaurant in Piney Point? It's now the Ruddy Duck. I know that restaurant. It's at the end of the earth, but it's a very good one. There's also one down there. It's on an island. You can only get to it by boat. I don't remember the name of that. I haven't been there in years, but I had friends that had a boat. We could see it. Time to start planting my garden, Abe. Yeah. I mean, somebody handed me seeds yesterday and said, hey, we want to plant these. And there were peppers and carrots. I said, all right, I'm planting a bigger garden this year. I have 3+ acres. I got room to do what I want. So, and I got a nice big open, my land is a former farm. So it's, the guy must have done well with it. So we're going to have some corn, and I'm going to do watermelons this year and try and make them square like they do in Japan. You basically have it growing, and then you put it in this clear box, and it adapts to the box. And the Japanese charge $25 for a watermelon, like a box kind, because it fits in their refrigerators because their places are so much smaller. They have smaller refrigerators. I thought, man, I get $25 for a watermelon. You can pay $5-6 for a big one around here. I live among the Amish, so we got lots of farmland. Let's see. Sound Visions with me on Chase. I mean, I'm not against guys making money, but I think you got to love the game. The money will be there. You got to love the game to be good at it. And if you do that, there's all the money in the world for it. Ryan, glad you're back. Thank you. Luke, I am your follower. Nailed it. There you go. All right. Have I ever been to Key West or any of the Keys? Ryan, yes. Drove all the way from Miami to Key West. And I think it was April, and it was hot. Man, the sun down there doesn't play. So, Hemingway's place, and there's all the bars. I mean, if you want to get stone drunk, man, you go to Key West. I mean, that's pretty much the economy. Eat some shrimp, get drunk. Maybe you go snorkeling or something. We went out on the glass bottom boats. It's a cool place to go visit. Just don't go in the summer because it's hot. They say Hemingway would write from 6 to 10 a.m. and then he'd go drinking and fishing and all that stuff because it's too hot to work anymore. I believe it. Man, the sun down there will peel your skin off. What's the chances EB stays if we hire a defensive coach, J-Dubs? I doubt it, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. Depends on what the coach likes EB and likes what he's doing on there. So you wonder if EB bet on himself and it didn't go well this year for a lot of reasons and not just EB. I like EB personally. I wish him well. I think I would gladly play for EB. I thought all that stuff about he's too hard, please. That's loser talk, Gregory, Adam Peters coming from San Francisco. So that's the building model. Well, San Francisco's had its ups and downs on building, but they've had some big hits. Would Brock Purdy do what he did in San Francisco? Would he do it if he was here? No. He fits the system well. Everything goes well. He's the perfect example of how to do the right thing in the NFL with people. The worst thing the worst thing that coaches do, and they do it all the time in the draft, is say, oh, I like that guy. He's supposed to be really good. Not quite what we do here, but we can fix that. And that is the road to hell. It really is, because you're not going to change him to fix your stuff. It's not going to work. The harder you push that round peg in the square hole, it doesn't work. With this one, Brock Purdy did work because they were in the right situation. That's true of almost all NFL players, and why some of them fail and some of them, succeed. It's where you go. In the 7th round, if you're a player, you want to not get drafted. I mean, it's nice to get drafted. You're a pick. You get a little money. But if you don't, you get to choose where you go. And a smart agent will say, this is where you fit best and have half a chance. So that's, that happens a lot. They really just, we can fix the guy. We can do this stuff. It's all nonsense. And the interviews they often do are so stupid with players. They don't know how to look at a player. See, coaches are used to being asked questions. They're not used to asking questions, and they don't know how to do it very well. They don't know how to gain insight into people in a few minutes that they have with them. That's what I do for a living. I could teach it, not for free, but that's where they make a lot of mistakes. They don't respect that. They think, oh, I just ask them questions. People ask us questions. It's not hard. No, it's a very different game. J-Dubs, let's see, with limited opportunities for reporters, how do you choose which questions to ask a new coach in his presser? Well, first day is usually a pretty nice, you throw a few softballs up there. You don't go hit them between the eyes on anything. So you just depends on you trying to get his general philosophies about things. You just basically try and play nice and establish a relationship. I don't think you're not going to be saying, coach, you had 12 DUIs, and you don't start off with that stuff. So the first day, you kind of ask them general questions about it, throw a few softballs, let them hit it, and then you work on the rest later. Gregory, I don't know why they lost, but we should build like Baltimore. Baltimore lost because it fumbled one time in the end zone and it threw another pick. There's 2 touchdowns they missed. They could have beat Kansas City, but you know what? When you come for the king, you best not miss. And they missed twice, and they lost. And Detroit, I think they kind of overthought some things, and San Francisco steamed them. But I give San Francisco credit. That was a hell of a comeback. But Detroit helped them. And San Francisco got really lucky on that one long catch instead of a touchdown. Then they get a fumble right away and score again. So, hey, listen, teams often lose games. Quite often, as I say, they win them games. Detroit lost the game. Baltimore lost the game. They could have both been playing this week. Luke, your father, the main street in Key West, can't remember its name, Duval Street, I believe it is. Duval. There's like 90 bars or something on that street. That's what they do there. It's like Bourbon Street in New York, in New Orleans. You go get drunk, as hot as it is. And New Orleans, too, is a really hot place. That's what you do. And it's okay. Everybody's an adult. You know what's going on. So unlike my president's book, those of you coming on, I have this coming out next month about all the presidents and drinking, or next week rather. I'll have it out by President's Day, max. And you'd be amazed how much the presidents would drink. Some of them, big drunks. And some of them didn't drink at all. Have I ever had front office people talk to you off the record and share insights, Ryan? Oh, yeah, Ryan, it's how we do business. Happens regularly. But they have to trust you, and I never had anybody burned. Never. Dan Snider so tried to figure out how I found out all these things. And I can tell the secret now. He's gone. And the secret was I rotated people I talked to regularly. I didn't rely on one guy. I rotated a lot of different guys, so no one could ever figure out. And Snider one day wanted to fire Joe Mendez, who was GM there for, a year. And he came to me and says, I know it was Mendez told you this, and I'm going to fire him for it. And I said, listen, I'm going to break my one rule with you. I am not, because I usually would have no comment on such a thing. But I said, I don't want Joe Mendez to get fired, much less get fired for the wrong reason. So I'm going to tell you now, it was not Joe Mendez. And Snyder goes right to me, well, then it was so-and-so. I said, we're not playing 20 questions. I'm just going to try and save one guy from getting unfairly fired. Other than that, you're on your own still. I'm not going to tell you. And it wasn't Joe Mendez. I wasn't lying. And about a week later, Joe Mendes and I kind of come upon each other after a game. And Joe says, "Get the hell away from me." And he was a nice man. We were good. The only guy when I had a heart attack at Redskin Park, the only guy who came to the hospital to see me was Joe Mendes. A nice man. But he was like that day, "Get away from me. Snider's behind us. He's going to see us together." And I just laughed. I said, "Come on, man. Give me a hug." But I got away because I didn't want anybody to get fired because of me. Never had a person get fired. Me. No source ever got broken all these years because I knew how to play the game better than they do. 70 Chip, Ken Beatrice said most games are lost, not won. And there's a lot of truth to that. That and the Arby's fries, the curly fries are great too. Ken used to talk about them in the Buffalo. Ken was a good guy. He really was. He talked a lot, but he was a good guy. Football is mostly momentum based, Ryan. There's a lot of truth to that. I mean, look at yesterday. How do you kick somebody's butt for half the game and then have your butt kicked the second half of the game? The answer to that is oftentimes coaching and luck. It happens. Sound and vision. There you're back. Does Jaden Daniels' size concern me? 6'4", 200? I don't have a problem with a guy 6'4" and 200. I'd be okay with that. You have to be drunk to be president, says Douglas. Well, that's what some of them said. Yeah, if anybody needed a drink, it was some of these guys. Ironically, our last two presidents, Biden and Trump, don't drink at all. So they're like, and there was a couple others too in the past, but in the old days, colonial people in America drank 3 times more than we drink today. And some of it had to do with the water wasn't safe. And even kids drank this thing called ciderkin, which was a combination of booze and water on there. George Washington had a victory party after winning the Revolution in Philadelphia. I've seen the bill. We added it up and compared it to today's money. It was basically $15,000 for 55 guys to go have dinner and drink. George Washington's eggnog he'd serve every Christmas had 4 different types of liquor in it. I mean, George Washington could drink. John Adams drank a shot every morning at 5 a.m. It's the beginning of his day. And we often laugh. John Adams started drinking when he was like 12. He started smoking when he was 6. And he lived to his 90s. so much for that. Ironically, I'm not a big drinker anymore, but I've been known to tilt a bottle, as most people. Joe, Buffalo and Baltimore both handed games to Kansas City. Correct. So, I mean, listen, Kansas City's not going to apologize. They took advantage of it. They did it. Was Andrew Jackson a drinker? Yeah, absolutely. Tony, he was, he suckered them British into the swamp, probably told them, "Hey, you want to have a drink? Come on in the swamp," and wiped them out. I like that about Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson. Yeah. And one of the famous quotes I got in the back of the book, Zachary Taylor, he said, "We're going to nominate you for president." He just looked at him and said, "Stop your nonsense and drink your whiskey." He was kind of like that. Franklin Pierce, only president to lose after one term that wasn't nominated by his own party even. He was such a drunk. Died of cirrhosis of the liver. And he said, "Hey, there's nothing left but to get drunk." Or Abe Lincoln, he told people after General Grant was winning battles, he said, "Find out Grant's type of whiskey and send a barrel to all my generals because they suck." So there's a lot of fun stories in there I do tell. So next week, I'll have ordering info for you. It's only $15. You'll have fun with it. Clayton just narrated half my new book. No, not quite. But you got to tease people, man. You got to get money out of them. It's not easy. Douglas, imagine if they had weed. Well, they had things. They weren't illegal back then, with opium, all that stuff. Ryan, how do reporters keep the same sources every time with turnover in the organization? You don't. I mean, you have to make new friends all the time on there. I mean, some people in the building would stay, and, I may or may not have talked to them. You just work your job every day. It takes time to develop people because they're afraid, you're going to get them fired or something. And my only goal was to never have somebody lose their job because of something they told me. And I never had that happen because I paid attention to protect people because they were brave enough to tell you the truth is what you guys want to hear, So Sound and Vision, thank you so much for chipping in. See you guys, you just hit the $ button there, and you go up. Clayton, yeah, the founding fathers grew hemp, but hemp wasn't the same thing as marijuana. Hemp was actually used in ropes and stuff more. So they weren't lighting up ropes and getting high. Gus Bus, how mad do you think Bowser really is at missing out on the World Cup? I don't think Bowser is that big on it. I mean, it would have been nice for the nation's capital. We should have the World Cup final. But, couldn't do RFK, and FedEx wasn't involved. And that's the way it goes, So I would love to have seen it. I've seen the World Cup before. It's a lot of fun. I've covered pretty much everything now, 46 years of doing this. I'm trying to think of what I've missed. I've never been at an Olympics, but I've been doing an Olympic satellite games. I've covered a couple of times, but never been to it. I would have liked to have. I tried to do it at one time, and I couldn't get it with the assignment because they're like, oh, so-and-so has that. What, for life? Yeah. So I finally left the paper. What job would I have done if I didn't do journalism, Ryan? I was going to seriously think about being a U.S. park ranger and working in national parks. But I like this job better. But I mean, that was my plan B. If I didn't make it here, I was going to be a park ranger and cite you for firewood violations or something. Who knows what it would have been like? But I think it would have been great. I love being outside, working outside. I think it was my kind of job. Favorite vacation spots, Mike? Well, if I go to Europe, I like London a lot. I tell you, Copenhagen was a really nice place in Denmark. Been to Helsinki, was kind of cool, and Stockholm. Stockholm's a really cool town too. Rome and Italy are awesome on there, and even the UK. I liked. I liked more of. I guess I liked. I sound like an idiot, aren't I? Scotland, I liked a lot better. Edinburgh was one of my favorite spots. The beaches and all, they don't interest me as much. I went to Osaka, Japan with the Redskins that time, cover the game. Osaka wasn't, anything spectacular, but it was on the other side of the world. It was kind of cool to see it on that level. Hot. Oh, man, was Osaka hot. I mean, I've never had that hot a day in D.C. We were just like, man, the humidity was like 100% in August. That was brutal. But it was a cool experience. And I've been to Reykjavik, Iceland. That was interesting to a point. I mean, in the U.S., I love San Francisco. I love Miami places. There's a lot of great places in the world to go see. So go travel. Now that we're finally past this COVID mess, I'm ready to hit the road again. And now my wife's free, so we can go wherever we want. Am I worried that Seattle Seahawks will hire away Gregory? It can happen, but you know what? God takes us all where we need to be. May not be where we want to go, but I find it always works out for me. And if that wasn't the coach meant for here, then so much for it. Never give up. I know Ken Beatrice, knew him very well because he could talk in ears off a donkey like me. But, he'd be at practice. He would just talk all the time. Ken, I'm watching practice. I'm trying to do stuff here. But the nicest man. When he retired, he actually was teaching people how to cantors in churches and all. He would volunteer and teach them how to do stuff like that. Amazing. I'm actually giving a sermon in a church on Super Bowl Sunday morning. I'll post the link. I was asked by the pastor who I help with his sermons every week. He said, I need a week off. Come do it. So I'm going to give the sermon. So, we'll see how I do. It's easy to be on the sidelines. I got to be in the game this time. I'll put it up for you guys, and hopefully maybe you'll watch it. Worst city I've ever been to, Ryan. Well, let me just say it wasn't a bad place, but Jacksonville did nothing for me. If you need a CVS, there's one on every corner. Jacksonville never excited me about going. That was one of them. Luke, if Caleb isn't going to the Bears, he's going to get drafted by the Commanders, right? Wouldn't say that. That kind of discussion hasn't even started. They're a month away from deciding that, even in theory, So, and the decision really won't be made for a while. This isn't Dan Snider saying, "Oh, I want RG3," months ahead. And maybe RG3 would have worked out if he hadn't been hurt, but among other things. So, they're going to play the process out. So I don't think you can take anything for granted as far as all that goes on the draft. Wow, we have 10 minutes left. Man, this went by quick. Appreciate everybody coming. And so if you're watching this on replay later, I can just tell you, or if you missed the show earlier and you came in late, as soon as we finish in a few minutes, YouTube basically reboots it and it'll be ready to see the whole thing again. And if you're watching on replay, you can still donate money to the cause, which is me today. So sometimes we do charity fundraisers. We did a great job at Christmas and bought presents for 7 kids and stuff like that, food bank stuff. So I do it occasionally, but I also like to have some money too. And I also tour guide. So I just finished with 2 different tours by fans coming through town. Cold as blazes. but I do appreciate if you come to DC and you want to do a tour guide, you go to monumentalthoughts.com, and that's my tour guide site. I do a little bit of everything. I teach history to kids too online, books, whatever. I like to stay busy. I'm dialing back a little. Ryan's excited for the Senior Bowl. Best for all you, man. I won't see 1 minute of that. I don't know what I'm doing Sunday, but I ain't watching that. And there, Joe remembers Ken Beatrice. You're next. Yeah. What's my take on Taylor network showing Taylor so much? 7 chip. I don't mind it. It's the thing with Travis. With Kelsey sitting there doing the hard thing after a touchdown to her. I thought, oh, aren't you just a sweet boy? but they're young and in love, and I wish them the best. And Taylor's. People love Taylor. As a matter of fact, my young granddaughter watched the Ravens game with me. We live here in Maryland, and her dance studio is doing their big recital, and it's a Taylor song, of course, "Shake, Shake, Shake." So she wanted to see who, the Taylor, and she wanted to see who her boyfriend was. And so I guess I was like the fathers. They say now there's all these fathers with 12-year-old girls that are suddenly watching football together. Hey, whatever, So I was sitting there explaining some of it to my daughter in football, and her brother was trying to bug her. She goes, "I'm watching the game." I thought, ooh, I got one grandchild that cares. And neither of my daughters care about football. So I never made it a priority in my house. So that was just kind of a funny moment. I got to see the Taylor impact myself in my own house. Steve, thank you so much for chipping in. Steve's my #1 follower here. Do I think Rigo was better than Larry Brown? Yes. Yeah. Was Art Monk better than Charlie Taylor? Man, that's a tough one. I'm going to take Charlie Taylor. I mean, Charlie Taylor led the league in career receptions, but Art later broke that, but he also played longer seasons too. Longer games, or more games, I should say. Do I worry if the search goes into next week, Greg? Yeah, I would be a little bit, yes, because, there's only Seattle's the only other team to go look for a coach, and then everybody else has to stare at each other. But I don't think so. I mean, the announcement may carry into it, but I think come Wednesday they pick up the phone with the agent or whoever they want, start negotiating a contract, and it's probably done within a day. I don't know how. I mean, I think Josh Harris will pay a fair wage, but if somebody wants something crazy, I don't know if they'll do that. But I don't think that'll happen. Might could be fun to be a fly on the wall. Yeah, I think you'd be bored for a lot of it. Well, they've done the first interviews, so they now have all seen each other. They've done the X's and O's kind of. Now these next interviews are, who's this guy really like, and can we live with him, and are we inspired by him? So it might be a little more interesting of an interview than before. It won't go all day. Sometimes these interviews, man, they can go 8 hours, 10 hours, 12. Not this one. These won't. Andy Reid retiring, Clint? I don't know. I don't think he will, even if they win. Andy likes coaching football. That's what these coaches do. They don't have anything else in their lives. So Douglas wants to go the Aaron Glenn route. I mean, I think any of the 5 that they pick, they all are successful guys. And, some of them I think are a little bit too nice. I think this group's going to want to buck up a little bit. So I don't know. When do I have a good feel Washington would do in the draft? Brian asked. The day before, pretty much. I mean, they do a big board all the way till the draft's Thursday. They're doing big board meetings all the way to Sunday, even Monday. It's only the last couple of days that they're kind of taking a breath. Yeah, they work forever. Steve brings up ESPN always goes to commercial when the Commanders Washington pick, whatever, for years, and it's true. It's true. We're not being paranoid, but with the second pick, I don't think they got the guts to do that. So I don't think that's going to happen this time. Now, maybe in the other rounds, but not the first pick. Yeah, I know. It was like take a drink game. You could get drunk through the night. What they do to Washington, and Washington's on the clock. We'll be right back. It happened all the time. So, trying to not be supportive of being woke, all that BS stuff. All right, we got a couple minutes to go. Wow, it's a fast hour. I've been hitting it all day, so I'm glad we're done. I'm still coherent. So, all right, if you got your last thing, if you want, like I said, everybody, if you're watching on replay, you want to see the beginning of the show, just dial back, wait around. It'll flip back real soon. If you want to donate to the Save Rick Snider from Starvation Fund, because we don't make what you think we make. I used to know sports writers, honestly, that went to press conferences to eat years ago. They would go and it was their big meal of the day. I mean, that was the truth. They don't do food at press conferences like they used to. But back in the day, man, I know you see guys on ESPN, they make all this money, but the regular guys working, journalism is just being crushed by the new economy. CSI closed down. LA Times dropped 200 people, reporters. It's a tough time in the business. I'm on the way out. I feel sorry for the 20-something-year-olds. They're going to have to figure out something else. How tired do you think coaches and scouts are during the draft prep? Yeah, they can do maybe 18-hour days, a minimum 12. Yeah, I don't think it's healthy. I think at some point you're just, and they used to tell me with Gibbs era, by the time they talk about something for the third time, they called it a night. That's when they knew it was just time to go to bed. I think these guys, sometimes they work harder instead of smarter. What kind of shape is the Aspirin headquarters in, Gregory? Well, listen, I'm a guy who we work in the sort of like a big, nice trailer on the side, or in the summer we're in a tent, and it's hot, but I got a chair, I got somewhere to sit my laptop, so I don't care about if I'm in the Taj Mahal. Now, like the Ravens, that's a nice place. The one in Washington isn't, but they have plans to build a new facility in the next couple of years. I'm sure it'll be great, but it ain't the walls. It's like hospitals. You go to some hospitals, they don't look that great. You're not there for the artwork in the hallways. You're there for the doctors. So I don't ever worry about that. And players that worry about that, I question them. There's a ball field. Is the grass good on the field? That's the thing I'd want to know as a player. I'm not caring about how big the locker room is. Tell me I'm not going to bust an ankle on some bad field. That's what's important. Do you have a bubble? That would be nice. And they do have that. And it seems nice in there. It smells like tires some days. You feel like you're chewing on rubber. But that was more when it was new. So it's fine. Like I said, they have personal chefs now. You can eat all the time. As Redskins teams that won 3 Super Bowls, they ate at McDonald's every day. They brought McDonald's in every day. I know, because whatever was left, the press corps would grab and try to eat. And the Hogs and all those guys would smash up all the burgers so we wouldn't eat them. What did they know? You'd sit there and go, "Oh, this burger's not too bad. It's only half smashed." We were dogs. What can I tell you? I need a crypto wallet. I've heard of those, Douglas. I don't know much about the crypto world. It kind of scares me that my money will vanish. Am I watching the Senior Bowl? It's Saturday. I'm sorry. It is Saturday, 70 chip. No, I don't care. I'll hear about it. I'll see the replay later, but no. I got to have some free time sometime. I can't watch games like you guys do anymore. I mean, I watched 10 football games over 2 weekends, first couple rounds. I felt like I had to go to rehab by the end of the 10th game. I'm usually watching one game, the Commanders game, and then maybe I watch pieces of a couple others, just kind of by the time I get back from covering a game, I might watch a little bit of the evening game, but I'm working on it, so I don't watch a lot. I watched 10 games. I thought I was going to die at the end. I don't know how you guys do it. Yeah, that's why you drink beer. I don't know. How fast will a new facility be built? Ryan, really 3 years. I mean, part of it is permitting. It takes a while. Permitting takes forever. And then land prep. It just depends on a lot of different things what you're building. But I would say 3 years is what you should figure. FedEx was built in 2. Obviously, it was built really quick, and had a really mild winter, which helped a lot when they built FedEx. So I think 3 is fair enough. So, like I said, if they don't have an agreement until 2025, and you got permitting, you got to build stuff. I mean, it could be 2029 maybe. I don't know, but it's not going to be 2027 at this point. And I still think it's RFK, but you never know until money really gets put on the table. I mean, this whole thing about the hockey and NBA team moving to Alexandria looks good, but there's a lot to go before that happens. They call this the off season. Poor reporters don't get a break till the summer. Well, we get paid to work 52 weeks a year outside of your, when I was a beat writer for many years, we get a little time off after we covered it all the way to the Super Bowl. You get 2-3 weeks off. Then somebody had to go do the combine, and then you get a little bit off. And then next thing you know, workouts start by mid-March. And between that and the off-season camps now, they go all the way to mid-June. From mid-June to mid-July, not a lot happens, and then a lot of people take off then. So, I mean, it's a job. What we do is a job. We're not players. So you have to go to work. What I used to do, because I was an old horse racing writer too, I used to do Triple Crown, May and into June. So I would spend a few weeks at the track every year. It was one of my favorite things to do. So Clayton says the bathrooms are horrible. Yeah, they are. I agree with you on that. And then the problem is that FedEx, they're putting money into it, but they're basically putting Band-Aids on problems. They're not building anything new there. And Douglas, you're right. Ted's lucky the focus was on Dan, but and Dave Poland was a good man. I didn't know him very well, but I was around him some. He had a good heart. But, different era where you didn't worry about the perks. Anything they really spend money to fix up is going to be with the rich seats and not going to be the upper deck or any of that. Bring your towel, wipe it off yourself. That's what I loved about Buffalo game. Hey, just go find a place where you can get through the snow and go watch. And everybody's like, yay, I get to stand out here for $250 and I only get to sit down. Oh, you got to love that. All right, next Monday, we'll do the show. And then the next Monday is after Super Bowl. We'll do that show. After that, I don't know. Maybe I'll take a break. I love talking to you guys, but, I don't mind taking a little time off too. Got to. We all got to take a little time. I'm not covering the UFL or whatever it's going to be called. I might pay attention. It's not very good football. I'm spoiled. I'm used to watching the pros. Watching other football just doesn't interest me as much because I'm just seeing the best. But, do some stuff. All right. So anyway, any last questions? Any last money? Whatever. Douglas, thanks so much for coming. Appreciate it. And we'll have a new coach by next Monday, I would think. I plan on being at the park unless something happens to meet him. Thank you, Steve. Always appreciate it. And Greg and Joe, Rufio. Rufio. I like that name. And Clayton. So I feel like romper room lady, but appreciate everybody coming. And I'll see you soon. So I always say this because the algorithm makes me. I'm Rick Snider for Rick Snider's Washington. Yeah, I do have the bill. Thanks for coming. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and hit the thanks button. 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, another video will be up talking about the coaches, of course. So I usually do them 6 a.m. and dinner time, whenever the news works it. So they'll always be there. Wayne, thank you so much for coming. I do appreciate everybody doing this. You could do something else, I'm sure, on TV or whatever. There's other people that are trying to talk. I see other people trying to do 2-minute videos. They don't know how hard it is, but they'll find out. And anyway, so there you go, guys. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you next Monday on this channel.